Good afternoon, everybody. Today I'm chatting with Doug Casey. In today's interview, we discuss the recent shooting of the CEO of United Health, as well as all of the hysteria that went on with the launch of the Hawk Tuah coin, as well as Donald Trump getting elected and what it means for mining investors. And we also touch on what Doug expects out of the markets and how he's positioning his portfolio in 2025. All right, everybody, enjoy the interview. Doug, thanks for joining us today.
It's a pleasure to be here with you, Steve. In my case, at the moment, here is in Uruguay. I'm on the farm on a very pleasant spring day.
I'm curious. What do you do any farming? You just have a residence there? What do
Oh,
you do on the farm?
I tell when I can show very easily. I don't know if you can see the soybean field out there.
Not quite. We see the dog bed, but
Oh, let's see.
there we
Is
go.
that
Now we can see it. Okay, very nice. I see a
okay?
man on a tractor. So it's
Yeah,
you're a
he's
soybean
just mowing
farmer.
the lawn. He's not going to mow the soybeans. He's got a different uh, job in life. So anyway, that's on the farm here in Uruguay. It's very pleasant. We've got about 150 cows wandering around and got some horses and got a couple miles of riverfront. Yeah, it's actually rather ideal. But mostly what we grow here aren't cows or soybeans. They're trees, believe it or not, which are about the major export from Uruguay. Trees. There's lots of tree farms, mostly eucalyptus because they're fast growing and they pulp easily.
So since we last spoke, there's been a lot that's happened in the world. Um, a lot to talk about, but there's a couple things that just recently happened that I thought we should start off with. The first thing is that we have a an executive, a CEO of United Health, was recently shot down by what appears to have been, I believe, a 26-year-old. Sounded like he came from a wealthy family, and I guess it's just speculation right now that he may have had some back problems, or nobody really knows exactly what the deal was there. I guess, gave a positive review about about a book about the Unabomber on his Amazon account. We know that, and he when the police found him at a McDonald's in Pennsylvania, he did have a manifesto on him. I'm curious here what your take on what happened is. Personally, I'm actually just surprised that this is the first time that this has happened, given the amount of denials that have probably happened over the last number of decades. What's your view on this? What does it say about where we are as a society today?
Well, there are a lot of ways to look at this. One of them is that our society has become so bureaucratized that you need insurance for things, for everything, quite frankly. Uh, it used to be, well, let me put it this way. My personal philosophical view is that you should take care of your own body. You shouldn't really need insurance on it, not insurance that costs several $1,000s per month, which is actually unaffordable for the average person. You should take care of your body and pay for it the way you pay for a mechanical problem with your car or the maintenance of your house. So, getting an insurance company involved in the middle just adds to cost and paperwork. Uh, so, I understand why people hate insurance companies. They have to deny claims because there's fraud and there's all kinds of moral risk in that. I don't know what's going on in this guy's mind, but it's related to the Antifa movement and the Black Lives Matter movement, where people are, society is becoming very unstable. Maybe that's what I'm leading up to. It's society is becoming quite unstable now, where a lot of people are on the ragged edge financially, although apparently this assassin wasn't. But I think we're going to see lots more stuff like this in the future. Um, People are saying, gee, this is just a normal, ordinary guy. And he decided to kill somebody who was a big deal executive of a possibly nasty insurance company. Uh, some people are saying justice was done, and it'll teach these corporate guys a lesson. Nobody likes corporate suits. I don't like corporate suits, frankly. Uh, but in the meantime, you can't have people running around shooting people at random around the city unless you have an annual purge where everybody can shoot everybody
I hope
else.
not.
People have thought about that too. I guess the bottom line is that the rest of this decade, certainly, and perhaps beyond, is going to resemble a dystopian science fiction movie more than reality as we've known it, and certainly not reality that you might have seen in sitcoms of the 1950s, like Leave It to Beaver and Father Knows Best, if anybody's even watched those things. That's ancient history.
Something I found fascinating about it is my understanding is that he 3D printed the gun, which tells you where we are at in terms of technology. And when it comes to things like gun control, this idea that you can just 3D print a gun, does control even matter when you can 3D print guns?
Well, gun control shouldn't exist and it shouldn't matter anyway. And the reason I say that is because historically, since ancient times, one of the major distinctions between a free man and a slave or a serf was a free man uh, was allowed under the law to arm himself and knew how to use a weapon. Uh, so I'm all for everybody having weapons to defend themselves. Without weapons, I mean, humans are basically defenseless. But maybe that's not the question here. You should be able to buy any gun that you'd like. But if you can't buy them, then you 3D print them. So it's nice. Not that this action was nice, but technology has always been a liberator for the average man. If the elite make a law, then technology allows you to get around the law. Well, give you a perfect example of that. During medieval times, the ruling elite had armor and castles, and the peasants couldn't do anything about it because they had no way to defend themselves or to attack the elite. But with the invention of gunpowder, pretty soon you could blow up the castle on the hill or take out the armored knight on his horse. So technology has always been a liberating thing. And that goes right down to the printed guns of today. But I'm making a general philosophical observation here. I don't approve of shooting people on the street. So that's notwithstanding the fact that I generally despise corporate suits who don't do anything but backslap and backstab to climb the ladder to success. And they're almost always overpaid.
So another thing that recently happened in the news that I'm curious what your take on is we have the Hawk coin from Hawk Tuah. I don't know if you followed any of this, but she recently released a coin, and my understanding is that the coin she worked with a group that was the ringleader of it was Howie Mandel's son-in-law, and the the uh, the coin at the time of launch got up to a market cap of just under $500 million and then subsequently crashed 90 to 95%. Uh, Haley Welch, or Hawk Tuah, as she's known, deleted her Twitter account, and now everybody's demanding an investigation. We actually have a video of her, uh, I believe, launching the coin that we wanted to show you on air. We're talking about this pre-interview. Chris, can you show us that video? Can you roll it?
What's one move in bed that makes a man go crazy every time?
Oh,
That
you
do?
gotta give him that Hawk Tuah and spit on that thing. You get me?
So this is originally how Hawk Tuah went famous, and here we have the her talking about the coin or promoting the coin the day that it went live.
My Hawk meme coin is live.
So uh, Doug, hopefully we've given you the context that you need to know. We have a girl; she went famous because she was quoted as saying Hawk Tuah, clearly a charismatic girl, good-looking girl. has a lot of personality. She gets approached by a group that wants to launch a meme coin. There's a pretty messy launch. CoffeeZilla described it as the worst meme coin launch he's ever seen. Uh, on an actual Twitter Spaces in front of Hawk Tuah and her team, she ended up subsequently deleting her Twitter account afterwards. It might be back now, but it is back. But she did delete it for a few days. And now there's a whole bunch of people demanding that we look at, or that the SEC look into what happened. But my question for you is, what does it say about the state of risk capital? And here we have all these junior mining stocks nobody wants to invest in, but we have somebody who is basically famous for talking about giving a blowjob, and she ends up launching what effectively looks like risk capital. It's tied to nothing. There's no balance sheet. There's no operating business, and people
Right.
are willing to buy it all the way up to a $500 million market cap, and then they're angry when they lose money on it.
Well, I don't see why they're angry at her because there are apparently hundreds of these meme coins that are being floated every day. And some of them have run up to not just $500 million in market cap, but billions in market cap based on absolutely nothing. Uh, it's it's actually quite amazing, and it's a sign of the times. This only happens when there are scads and oodles of funny money floating around that people think they can do something with. Why should somebody be unhappy because they bought her goofy coin and it went up and then it went down and reached its intrinsic value? Because all of these coins, and this is true of almost every coin out there except for Bitcoin. I am a fan of Bitcoin. I was a late adopter of it, 2017, but not too late. But all these coins floating around today serve no useful purpose at all. They're worth nothing. Like Dogecoin, it's got a market cap of $60 billion. But what is Dogecoin good for? It's good for absolutely nothing. It's useless. Uh, this is no different than gamblers who will bet on anything and bet on raindrops on a windshield. Which one's going to reach the bottom of the windshield first? I mean, people bet on all kinds of things. So it's a sign of the times and a sign of the market.
So something I got to ask you about, because it's been a while since we've chatted, is Trump getting elected. We haven't had a chance to speak post Trump election until now. What was your read on it? Did you think that Trump was going to get elected? What do you think it says about the state of the general public? My viewpoint on it going into it, if you just listen to the media, there's quotes from people on MSNBC talking about how Kamala, it was a done deal. She was going to win effectively. And then she really got her butt kicked when you actually break it down. I think that she lost every single swing state. What's your read on the election? What does it mean? And then as investors, what should we be thinking about?
Well, I have little confidence in the integrity of elections, or for that matter, the intelligence of the average American voter. So I thought that Kamala would win. And if she had won, it would have been game over for America as we knew it, because she's a hardcore Marxist. And the people that have run Washington for at least the last 4 years, but more, are actually modern day Jacobins. And by that, I mean they're the same people that took over France in the early 1790s. They have the same values, they have the same core philosophy, the same way of operating politically. But thank goodness that for whatever reason, she didn't win, because it was certainly rigged for her to win, spending $1.5 billion in the last few weeks and getting all the media people from Taylor Swift on down and mass media. It certainly seemed like, plus just normal everyday cheating. Well, even abnormal, not everyday cheating, like having the migrants vote and mail-in votes. I figured, now this is a rigged election. She's certain to win, but against all odds, she lost. Thank God. Not that I'm a huge fan of Trump. He's got his own set of problems, but he's vastly better than what we would have gotten if Kamala had won. Since I'm in Uruguay, I'm using a somewhat, I'm using a Spanish pronunciation that sounds like Kamala. Kamala means how bad.
What do you think it means though for us as investors? Do you I was chatting with Rick Rule about this a couple of weeks ago, and we got into the Department of Government Efficiency, which could be headed by Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy. And Rick was just of the opinion that it's just another government department that's going to cost money, and it's ultimately not going to be able to get anything accomplished. What's your view on that? Do you think that that's the case, or do you think
Yeah,
that they could actually do some cuts?
absolutely. I'm sure that they'll trim a few things around the edges. But the problem is that if they do anything serious, they're going to be met with a barrage of lawsuits. And the bureaucrats that they're trying to get rid of are so entrenched that they're going to slow walk everything. So it's going to be very, very frustrating. I wish them well, and it's a great idea. But trimming around the edges is actually pointless. Actually, it's counterproductive because you've got to pull out these agencies by the roots and pour Agent Orange in the ground where they grew so they don't come back. But just trimming around the edges and making government more efficient, my God, the most dangerous thing is an efficient government. And furthermore, it's like a plant or a tree. When you trim it and cut off excess branches, and it just grows back stronger, the basic plant, and we don't want that. And the money that they save, if they set it aside in a lockbox, a phrase they like to use, it's just going to be there for the next administration, which I think will almost certainly be Democrat, to fritter away. So, look, we have morning in America right now, but unfortunately, morning only lasts 6 hours in the real world. And I wish them well. I really do, Vivek and Elon. But it ain't going to work.
So what does it mean for us as mining investors? We were at a bunch of conferences this fall, and it felt like going into the election, there was a ton of momentum, a ton of excitement, a ton of positive just sentiment with everybody we spoke to. And then the election happened, and everything seemed to come to a screeching halt. And it seems like the market is just trying to digest what's happened, and until investors want to start putting money back into juniors. What's your read on how we should handle this as investors?
Well, I've said for years, look, I've been involved in the junior mining market for, Jesus, it's so long I'm embarrassed, but 40, almost 50 years at this point. And the fact of the matter is that mining itself is a crappy business. It's a 19th century choo-choo train business. Young people aren't interested in it, don't want to go in it. Who wants to play around with big yellow trucks in the dirt? It's like an Easter egg hunt, except you're looking for things over hundreds of square miles that are buried hundreds of feet under the earth. It's capital intensive. It's a horrible business, okay? But it's been very, very good to me nonetheless, because making up for these things are the facts that you actually do need metals in order for the world to run the way it runs now. So there is value in these crappy little stocks, or at least some of them. And cyclically, people will become interested in them again. Because since 1971, when gold was set free by the US government, there have been about 5 major bull markets in these crappy little mining stocks. And on average, the whole market has gone like 10 to 1, with some stocks going 100 to 1, and a few stocks actually going 1,000 to 1. I think it's going to happen again. quite frankly. Don't know when. It's way overdue, in my opinion. They're cheaper than they've ever been in history relative to all other stocks. So I remain a bull, and they're actually treating me reasonably well because I don't buy them out of the market. I only finance them. And when I finance them, I buy them at a discount and I get a warrant. So, that's my survival strategy for the moment until the worm turns.
When was the last time we saw that kind of bull market that where we'd see junior mining stocks go 100x?
When would that have been? Well, the best markets were in the 70s and the 80s. And I should look at a chart of these things to say when the last time that they actually went wild was.
We
What
had a bit of a run there around like 2010 to 2012, didn't we?
we did, because gold ran up and these stocks took off and flew for a while. But look, it's been a bear market for quite a while since then. People have been interested, especially younger people are interested in computer stuff, digits, uh, the internet, artificial intelligence, things of that nature. Like I said, they're not interested in playing in big yellow trucks in the dirt, like I just said. So it's been a while. I think things will change just because we do need metals, we do need oil, gas, uranium, but who can tell when it's going to happen?
So as we head into 2025, what are you excited about when you think about how you're allocating capital and what you're kicking tires on? Is there anything that you're particularly looking at right now and excited about, or is it just a function of waiting for those tailwinds to show up?
Well, right now, gold, let's say it's at 26, 2,700, whatever it is right now. It's unimportant. $100 move is almost a random fluctuation at these prices. Uh, but gold itself is not a crazy bargain, which it has been in the past. I've always said gold was very underpriced. I can't say that anymore. Relative to the prices of everything else, from a meal in a restaurant to a suit to a car to a house, gold impresses me as being kind of reasonably priced at the moment. So I think it's going higher because it's the only financial asset that's not simultaneously somebody else's liability. And anybody that's got any sense and prudence will save with gold, not with paper dollars. But I'm not sure gold's going to help us too much. Um, Copper, that's a different story. Uh, if the world electrifies, as it probably will, uh, you're going to need copper. I mean, silver is the most conductive of all the naturally occurring elements, but it's too pricey to be used for that purpose on a large scale. So you come down to copper. And if you want wires to move electrons, well, you need copper. So there haven't been any major copper discoveries for a long time. It costs lots and lots of money to put a copper mine into production. And who wants to make $1 billion investment up front so you can have NGOs and politicians and basically making your life miserable? So, yeah, there's going to be a shortage of most metals in the future for just that reason. And against all odds, some of these companies that actually have worthwhile deposits, they've spent a lot of money drilling to figure out they're going to be put into production. So I remain bullish on these stocks, but we're in survival mode at the moment.
Yeah, everybody's got to play defense, and uh, I don't know how much longer it can go on. And even I was chatting with um, Christian Easterday from Hot Chili about what the mining environment's like over in Australia. Because as Canadians, we keep hearing about how amazing it is over there, and his response was, "It's terrible in Australia. It's just there's a handful of hot names that everybody's investing in. If you're lucky enough to be one of the pretty girls at the dance, you're fine. You can raise money." But for the vast majority of the mining explorers, and small mining companies in Australia, it's not any easier than it is in Canada. It's quite depressing, and sort of as you just said, it's survival mode. And when I think about mining investing, there's really three things to think about. One, you've got to pick the 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 right commodity that is going to get a speculative uh, bull market behind it. And I agree both on copper and gold that time is coming. Secondly, it's best if you can find an asset that is somewhat drilled out and somebody's done most of the work and taken on most of the risk, and you can pick it up for pennies on the dollar. And then the third thing is you have to get the timing relatively right. It's one thing to be right about the first two things, but be 10 years early and then ultimately get diluted down. Is 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 that how you think about mining and investing when you're trying to find junior mining companies to put money in?
You're absolutely correct. And certainly at this point, I have very little appetite for green fields, go on an Easter egg hunt companies, brownfields companies where they have done some work, there's some infrastructure put in, actually much more interested in those. And small producers, they're even more interesting at this point, and they're all very, very cheap. And what you said about Australia also makes sense because Americans don't invest in Australian stocks, resource stocks, typically, historically, they don't. We invest in Canadian stocks. So the Canadian market, relative to the Australian market, uh, has been doing much better, which means that Australian mining stocks are even cheaper than Canadian mining stocks because they don't get the capital from America. They get some from the UK, of course, but America's where the action's at. So you're quite correct.
Well, Doug, you've been generous with your time today. If our audience wants more of your commentary, where's the best place for them to go to?
Well, there's two places. One is internationalman.com. I write an article every week uh, on that and other things, as do five other people, including my old friend David Stockman, who writes for internationalman.com, and it's free. The other thing is my podcast is called Doug Casey's Take on YouTube, and some people find that quite entertaining, and we cover the waterfront there. So those are the two places to go. And I might also mention my first novel, first of three, is called Speculator, which is about the mining business and a stock fraud and a bush war in Africa. So if you're looking for a Christmas present for somebody that's interested in this stuff, uh, that novel is a good choice. It's available on Amazon.
Well, Doug, thanks very much for hopping on here today. It's always a pleasure when we get to speak, and I hope you have a very Merry Christmas and a great holiday season.
And Happy New Year, because 2025 has every indication of being wild and crazy.
Thanks for joining us, Doug.
Thanks, Steve.
All right, everybody. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this interview, please smash that like button, subscribe, and ring that notification bell. All right, everybody. Thanks for watching.